Hello and welcome to Nationwide on the network service of the NTA. We're glad to have you join us. I am Lydia Odije Ochi. Let's begin with the Federal Executive Council meeting. The Federal Executive Council has approved 2021 supplementary appropriation bill of 895.8 billion naira for presentation to the National Assembly for approval. This is to, amongst others, procure COVID-19 vaccines, as well as enhance the capacity of the nation's military and paramilitary agencies to tackle the challenges of security bedeviling the country. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, announced this while briefing journalists after the meeting of the Council presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. We will bring you details of this in subsequent bulletins. President Muhammadu Buhari has been formally presented an indigenous mobile cell phone. The Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Niyi Adebayo, made the presentation before the commencement of the Federal Executive Council meeting. The minister said the Made in Nigeria product already launched was produced by the Model Skills Training Center of the Industrial Training Fund, ITF. It is an agency under the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, established to promote and encourage the development and acquisition of industrial and commercial skills required in various industries across the country. Meanwhile, existing vacancies have been filled by the federal government in the Federal Civil Service Commission and the National Population Commission. This followed the swearing in by the President of Wakil Bukar and Muhammad Datijo as members of the two critical organs of government. In the last 2 years, a total of 745 bills have so far been introduced in the Ninth Senate. 58 of them have been passed, while it considered 250 motions. These statistics came from the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan's speech, marking 2 years anniversary of the Ninth Senate, which comes up on the 11th of June, 2021. Senator Lawan explained that security and other critical areas of the nation's economy, like health and education, have all been impacted by legislative interventions, citing the restoration of budget cycle to January-December, passage of the Deep Offshore Amendment Bill, Companies and Allied Matters Act Amendment Bill, and the Finance Bill 2019, which amended 7 existing tax laws as strategic. The legislators, having acknowledged their roles in the critical sectors, called for more interventions, especially in the areas of economic diversification, health provisions, and addressing security challenges. They resolved to review their strategy so as to be more committed, ensure efficient oversight, and represent Nigerians effectively. The senators hope to pass the Petroleum Industry Bill, Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and the Constitution Amendment Bills before embarking on its annual recess in July. I've now been joined in the studio by Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Basiru. He is the Chairman, Senate Committee on Public Affairs. Distinguished Senator, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon.
You're welcome. Now, it will be 2 years of the 9th Assembly in existence, come this Friday, the 11th of June. Now, tell us how the body has impacted on the nation's growth and the people.
Actually, self-assessment is prone to accusation of possible bias, but be that as it may, we may have to set some possible objective parameters upon which an assessment of how we have fared in the past 2 years in the Ninth Senate. One of the 3 areas by which an assessment can be made has to do with the constitutional responsibility of the Senate. One is making law for the good governance of the country. Second has to do with oversight function for the purpose of exposing inefficiency and corruption such that the country will have value for money. And third has to do with confirmation of appointment either by the constitution or statutory provision. So these three parameter when used, I will say at the risk of sounding immodest, that the Ninth Assembly has actually performed creditably well. And I may elucidate, particularly in the area of lawmaking, as the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Lawal, CON, said in the speech at the plenary today. When you look at the impactful nature of an area of our legislative intervention, you will discover that we have performed well in those areas. For instance, when you look at even the economy, unlike the staccato and the absence of symphony in the budget cycle before, we have been able to ensure that we have a predictable budget cycle. The impact of this is realized when you know that the major drivers of Nigerian economy is actually public expenditure. Then you also look at the Federal Finance Act, by which creatively we have been able to amend existing tax legislation in such a way that it makes available a tax as a veritable source of government revenue, while at the same time insulating the vulnerable in the society, particularly as will be exemplified by the Value-Added Tax Act, by which, although there was an increment to 7.5%, but small businesses are below the threshold of 25 million turnover were insulated from tax. And also the vulnerable workers were also insulated from personal income tax. And of course, in the area of revenue generation, you can talk of the amendment of the deep offshore and the profit sharing contract, which had been a legislation that had been left unattended to for more than a decade and a half, which has given enablement for additional revenue in that area.
Okay, now I know I believe that several bills were considered. Now, if we would like you to give us an insight into such bills.
Yeah, I've looked at the Appropriation Act, by which we have been able to make funds available for critical sector of the economy. And you can see the creative nature of using appropriation to actually assist in tackling the challenge of pandemic. As at the time that the COVID-19 pandemic came into being, we have perhaps just about 2 molecular laboratories in Nigeria. Today, we have virtually in all the states. You also have testing centers and isolation centers, as well as some other necessary health infrastructure by using creatively the Appropriation Act. Then you look at very important bills like the Banks and Other Financial Institution Act, which had been due for revision for close to 2 decades. You have the Company and Allied Matter Act, which creates the engine room for people to carry business. The Police Act was also amended as part of the effort to address the problem of insecurity in Nigeria. Then, of course, in the health sector, necessary legislative intervention were also made, as well as good oversight in being able to ensure that funds appropriated are actually deployed towards realizing the health objective in addressing the problem of the pandemic. And of course, the other critical area which has to do with the economic sector, you can see that the legislative approval was given to social intervention program of the President Muhammad Buhari administration, such a way that the vulnerable in society have access to some means of economic succor to be able to tackle some of these challenges. Yes, we still are prospecting to do more in the area of economy, in the area of security, and ensuring we meet the expectation of the Nigerian people for security and welfare of the people.
Okay, we would like to know more about that when we get to our last question. Now, would you say the Senate is achieving its legislative agenda?
Yes, I will say, and of course, I will also immediately admit that there are room for improvement. In terms of our agenda, the crux of our agenda is a National Assembly that works for Nigerians. And to that extent, we have dedicated our time, notwithstanding the interregnum of the lockdown of COVID-19, we have been purposeful in ensuring that necessary legislative intervention, necessary oversight intervention are done in a way that creatively assists. And we have also been able to minimize acrimonious relationship, which had been the hallmark of disincentiveness to progress in the country. So I will say that we'll have been able to, while maintaining our independence as an arm of government, work in a creative manner that will reduce acrimony, and using a very gentle manner to point to the executive in areas where we thought they have not followed the law. For instance, we have had occasion to step down many nominations or refuse to approve certain nominations when the necessary legislative or constitutional provision had not been done. But we all do this with that sense of calmness and belongingness necessary for a cohesive administration.
Okay, now, briefly now, what is the focus for the next 2 years?
Yeah, the focus necessarily have to flow from the expectations of the Nigerian people. If you listen to the retinue of speeches at the floor today, the area that Nigerians have expectation. One, Nigerians are looking toward National Assembly to have constitutional amendment that is genuine and not cosmetic in addressing issue of devolution of power, restructuring and fiscal federalism, and in a way that make the government to be a government that address issue of welfare of the people and, of course, security. Of course, area of security is an area that we have been challenged, and it actually has overshadowed many of the good things that we are doing. So we are committed in implementing the report of the Summit on Security that the Senate has set up, and also given necessary legislative backing to a decentralization, possibly, of the Nigerian security apparatus.
Thank you so much, distinguished Senator Surajuddin Basiru, Chairman, Senate Committee on Public Affairs. We thank you for coming to share your thoughts with us on Nationwide.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Moving on now, the House of Representatives is considering, through constitution amendments, giving legal backing to state security outfit. A constitution amendment bill sponsored by Representative Anthony Afe, which passed second reading, noted that the bill would enable such outfits complement the Nigeria police force, maintain law and order across the country. The bill provides the states and local governments play defined and active roles pertaining to funding and other logistic support towards improving crime fighting and intelligence gathering. The bill was referred to the Constitution Review Committee for further legislative action. Meanwhile, the House has urged the Central Bank of Nigeria to reverse the seeming free fall of the Naira against the dollar as moved by Representative Bamidele Salam. The Nigerian Navy has launched a new landing ship tank LST in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates, to replace the first set of LSTs, NNS Ambe and NNS Ophium, which have been decommissioned. The Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, says when commissioned into the Nigerian Navy fleet, the LST will bolster sea lift capability, notably the transportation of troops, military hardware and vehicles in the conduct of maritime security operations. The new LST has a length of 100.08 meters and is powered by 2 engines and 4 C-18 generators. With an endurance of 15 days at 15 knots, she can accommodate more than 450 persons in the upper and lower decks in short trips in the event of any humanitarian or evacuation missions. Former U.S. President Donald Trump has praised Nigeria's government for banning Twitter after it deleted President Muhammadu Buhari's post for allegedly breaching its rules. In a statement, former President Donald Trump said, "Twitter cannot dictate good and evil." He urged other countries to ban Twitter and Facebook for not allowing free and open speech. Mr. Trump was banned from both platforms after the U.S. 7th Capitol riot in January. The All Progressives Congress has alerted Nigerians on the risks inherent in accessing contents, especially social media, using the virtual private network VPN, which is vulnerable to heinous activities of criminal hackers who can steal data and money in bank accounts. A statement made by John James Akpanudo Dehe, National Secretary Caretaker, and Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee of All Progressives Congress warns legitimate private and public entities operating in the country to avoid the many dangers of exposing themselves to cyber crimes through the use of VPN, noting how it exposes users to hacking. The statement said despite the massive compliance by Nigerians to the federal government's suspension of Twitter operations in the country, some individuals in the country have resorted to VPN to access Twitter, whose unwholesome activities were detrimental to peace and public order in the country. The APC emphasized that VPN users expose their devices to vulnerabilities because the network allows third parties access to personal data and changes user location to another country, which compromises data integrity. President Muhammadu Buhari has called for a renewed global action to decisively address HIV and AIDS epidemic in Africa and the elimination of the disease by 2030. The president spoke at a United General Assembly high-level meeting on HIV and AIDS to review the progress and commitment to end the deadly disease by 2030 and provide recommendations to guide and monitor response in countries. A statement by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, says the President addressed the meeting in a video message pledging Nigeria's full commitment to the Sustainable Development Goals and other international and regional initiatives towards eliminating HIV and AIDS in the country within the set goal. The President says Nigeria will work with fellow heads of state and government across the continent to ensure sustained high-level political engagement in achieving these goals. The President reiterates Nigerian government's full support for a clear and ambitious common African position, a new political declaration that can help to reduce the public health threat of HIV and AIDS, strengthen resilience to end the disease, and in addressing current and future health emergencies. President Buhari says Nigeria is committed to urgently translating all new and agreed political declarations into country action as a means of decisively addressing the HIV epidemic in the African region. Praising the meeting of Nigeria's response to control the disease, the President expressed delight that the country has moved from a data-poor to a data-rich country with the results of the latest AIDS indicator and impact survey conducted in 2018. He added that the result of this survey has enabled Nigeria to set realistic targets and identify those who were not being reached with the necessary services through the support of the United States government, Global Fund, civil society, and other partners to enroll almost 1.5 million Nigerians on life-saving HIV treatment. Nigeria has recorded tremendous growth in our treatment program, especially over the past 2 years, the President also said. President Buhari told the meeting, attended by heads of state and governments, ministers and diplomats, that Nigeria had made good its commitment at the high-level meeting side event at the 72nd session of the UNGA in September 2017 to commence placement of 50,000 Nigerians living with HIV on treatment annually using national resources. Furthermore, President Buhari said he had personally granted an exceptional waiver for the use of competitive international tender facilities to procure antiretroviral medicines at more than 30% cost efficiency, enabling more Nigerians to be placed on life-saving antiretroviral treatment within the same budget. Former Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan is in Bamako, the Malian capital, leading a delegation as mediators to political crisis in the country. President Jonathan arrived Mali on Tuesday and has been having talks with the head of the government and the new prime minister. Jonathan says while in Ghana, the military officials agreed that the prime minister will be a civilian.
No major expectation. The key thing is that we want to have a conversation with the head of the government, who was then the deputy, and the new prime minister. The military officers agreed that the prime minister will be a civilian. So it is not new. So I don't think there will be conflict between the prime minister and the head of government.
He hopes that there will not be a conflict between the prime minister and the head of government. Sworn in Monday as president of the transitional government, Colonel Asim Goita has further strengthened his hold on power in the West African country. To pressure Goita to step down and quell the perceived political crisis, the African Union has since suspended Mali's membership, and France has temporarily suspended its joint military operations within the Malian armed forces. Time now to join Awal in our Lagos Network Center for stories making the rounds from the Center of Excellence. Over to you.
Yeah. The country's territorial waters and by extension, the Gulf of Guinea has long been plagued with maritime crimes ranging from piracy to kidnapping. After several interventions, the federal government has finally responded with an integrated maritime security architecture codenamed Deep Blue Project. Prelude to its inauguration by President Muhammadu Buhari, Michael Olale examines the prospect of the security masterpiece to calm the troubled waters in the region.
There is nowhere on earth where piracy thrives more than the Gulf of Guinea. This is because the region alone accounts for more than 43% of all reported piracy cases globally, according to the ICC International Maritime Bureau. It is a development that is not just threatening investments in the region, but causing the entire African continent a huge financial loss. This is the Command, Communication, Control, Computer and Intelligence C4I Operational Center, a component of the Deep Blue projects. From here, the country can monitor activities on its territorial water from 200 nautical miles.
When we see you're carrying out any illegal activity, we can easily command any of our platforms out there to proceed towards there to intercept.
So far, assets like 16 armored vehicles, 4 unmanned air drones, 17 fast interceptors, 2 special mission vessels, 2 special mission aircrafts and helicopters have been procured, apart from the 600 personnel integrated from both the military and navy.
The issue of these platforms is not only restricted on piracy, armed robbery, as you mentioned, pipeline vandalization, oil theft, illegal refinery, illegal smuggling of arms, illegal narcotics, drugs.
Experts are convinced that the Deep Blue project is indeed the much anticipated answer to maritime threats, but stressed greater efforts at ensuring that facilities are well maintained.
It gives hope, it gives credibility to our environment, it enhances Nigeria's chances in getting into the IMO Security Council.
After inauguration by President Muhammadu Buhari, the Deep Blue project will be deployed to secure the Anchorage area, a development that will enable the country harness the vast wealth in the blue economy. In Lagos, Michael Olale, NTA News.
And now to health. The use of face masks or face shields, regular hand washing techniques, observance of social distancing, among others, are non-pharmaceutical measures put in place by the federal government to curb the spread of coronavirus. Now, the question is, are Nigerians still complying with these COVID-19 protocols, especially the use of face masks, despite drop in price? Diana Ajale seeks the opinion of the Lagos public and the possible implications on general health.
Before the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, face masks or face shields were only used by medical experts during surgery. The advent of coronavirus changed the narrative, as these items became part of the major non-pharmaceutical measures used by the people to curb the spread of the virus. This indispensability prompted the increase in the price of face masks or face shields. But with time, many people deployed their creativity and started the production of these items. Following the gradual relaxation of COVID-19 lockdown and the advent of the COVID-19 vaccines, majority of people are no longer taking the use of face masks seriously, even with the reduction in price.
Before na 300, 500 I sell. They sell for pack 5,000 before. But now 1,000.
But this one we buy at 1,500, 1,600. They sell at 50 naira.
What is the implication of people moving about without obeying the COVID-19 protocols?
Honestly, if I can remember who I lost, it's painful to me.
Let's fight it like it is a war, and we need to defeat COVID-19. Not because it does not only affect the individual, as you can see, it has affected also the Nigerian economy.
That we are achieving the targets in Nigeria is therefore not a reason for us to start laying down our guards.
You don't need the government to wear face masks. You don't need the government to wash your hands. You don't need the government to maintain social distance among people. There are some things we can do for ourselves by ourselves as responsible Nigerians to stay alive and well.
From all indications, the use of face masks is still an effective way of guarding against contracting the virus. If Nigerians can renew the seriousness given to its usage at the beginning of the pandemic, this can possibly prevent the third wave in Nigeria. In Lagos, Diana Ajale, NTA News.
You're watching NTA Nationwide. Time now for commercial break, after which Susan is standing by in Makurdi with more reports from that zone. Do stay with us.
My name is Nancy Oyedia Orom. I'm AIT correspondent. I've been covering the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 the last 1 year. I just took the jab, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and it was seamless. And I was opportune to take these vaccines with the SGF, the ministers. So I want to use this medium as a journalist for someone who has experienced COVID in the last 1 year. I want to implore media houses, broadcast industries. Let's join hands together to propagate the good information out there for people to believe in these vaccines. That's the only way we can have health immunity and also achieve the projection and target of Nigeria come 2022. Well, I must implore all Nigerians to go out there, register on the Primary Healthcare Development Agency website. These vaccines are free for all Nigerians. Go to the website, register. It is free for you and I.
The Masters Deep Blue, the integrated national maritime surveillance and security infrastructure. Our platforms are ready. Special mission aircraft, special mission helicopters, unmanned aerial vehicle, special mission vessels, interceptor boats, armored vehicles, special forces and the C4I Center. Official flag off on Thursday, 10th June 2021. By President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Chief Host, Right Honorable Rotimi Amici, Minister of Transportation. The Masters Deep Blue, Calmer Coast and Safer Seas. Security is priority. The integrated national maritime surveillance and security infrastructure. Powered by NAMASA.
What's this device on your desk?
It's a GSM network booster.
Really? You sure want to go to jail? Are you not aware that the Nigerian Communications Commission has warned the general public, particularly banks and other financial institutions, government agencies, telecom service providers, and owners or occupiers of residential premises that the sale, installation, and usage of GSM network boosters is illegal? This is to ensure protection of consumers, good quality of service, and maintain technical standards of communication equipment. It is a criminal offense to sell, install, or use any equipment which may hinder network operations or which has not been type approved by the NCC. If you are caught using a GSM network booster, you will be prosecuted. Be warned.
This is signed by Professor Umar Garba Dambata, Executive Vice Chairman, Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy, and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
Watching NTA nationwide, reaching you from Makurdi. Governor Samuel Otom has given the 3 senatorial districts of Benue State 2 weeks to submit memos for the amendment of the law establishing the state community volunteer guards. The governor stated this when intending members of the proscribed vigilante groups met with him at Government House, Makurdi. Charles Abba reports.
The governor re-emphasized that his commitment to uphold the rule of law informed the disbandment of Benue State vigilante groups.
Lawlessness will lead to anarchy. But when you have laws guiding you, everybody will know the do's and the don'ts. You will know your limit. That will be the yardstick to effectively control any organization.
He commended the efforts of the members in complementing the security architecture of the state, but regretted that the group has no legislation backing it up. He therefore advised interested persons to go to their wards, get profiled and enlisted, but they must follow due process as outlined in the laws.
The law establishing community volunteer guards have spelled out the categories of people that are eligible and qualified to be part of it. Number 1, the qualification. Age limit and maximum. You must be someone who is 18 years, from 18 years to 50.
The governor reiterated that the Benue Community Volunteer Guards is starting on a clean slate with all the necessary legislative provisions. He affirmed that with the amendment of the existing laws establishing the State Community Volunteer Guards, other gray areas will be addressed. He, however, assured the members of the state government's assistance and adequate training, but without salaries. In Makurdi, Charles Abba, NTA News.
The legality of the provision of the Constitution for the right to life and safety of persons cannot be undermined. However, the increasing rates of criminality in the society and the continuous delay in the dispensation of criminal justice might have led to wide provocation among the public to take laws into their hands. Sandra Dowese Akeme in this report examines the implications and effects of jungle justice in Benue State.
According to research, jungle justice is a form of public extrajudicial killings where an alleged criminal is humiliated, beaten, or summarily executed by a mob. In recent time, this has become a recurring decimal as many parts of the country do not have regard to human life. Therefore, the killing of human beings at any little provocation means nothing to them. Benue State, especially Makurdi, the state capital, has witnessed more of mob action, where observers believe that it might be due to the communal conflicts and frequent attacks. Many believed that jungle justice is caused by commercial motorcyclists, popularly known as Okada riders.
On our part, we've been trying to sensitize our members to see that even if anybody commits a crime, the law says such a person should be interrogated and maybe prosecuted.
What we advise members of the public to do is to hand the suspect over to the nearest security agency.
If it is a case of rape, there is a punishment for rape. If it is a case of murder, there is punishment for murder. It is only a competent court of law that we now, if he finds the suspect guilty.
They therefore appealed to members of the public to be law-abiding citizens and allow only law enforcement agencies to perform their duties. In Makurdi, Sandra Doesi Akeme, NTA News.
And that's it from Makurdi. We now return to Lydia in Abuja for more on NTA Nationwide.
Many thanks, Susan. Building on President Muhammadu Buhari's mantra of produce what you eat and eat what you produce, Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment Miriam Katagum believes that a private sector boost to the Nigerian coconut industry will create jobs to thousands of unemployed youths through its numerous value chain. The minister was speaking at the flag-off of a commodities export initiative in Abuja. Benny Adams reports.
Regarded as the tree of life, coconut is a cash crop that grows in more than 30 states, with Lagos and Akwa Ibom having the largest. And with ongoing conversations on boosting non-oil exports, Minister of State, Industry, Trade and Investment, Miriam Katagum, is leading the campaign with the flag-off of One Family, 3 Coconut Trees, an initiative that seeks to actualize coconut sufficiency in Nigeria in the next 7 years.
The global market for the coconut is in excess of $6 billion, which means that opportunities are huge. Therefore, as the 18th largest world producer of coconuts, we must work harder to increase our market share, and the best strategy is to start cultivation of the commodity for improved yield.
It is a statement of fact. Every drop of coconut oil used in sugar refineries in Nigeria is imported.
And now our mission is to rebrand and reposition coconut value chain as an occupation of choice for our women and our teeming youth, as it is very important for transforming the economy of Nigeria. Coconut is the oxygen that can resuscitate our economy and promote productivity.
Then it was time to walk the talk. By this action, the minister has just committed to an 80-year-old investment worth millions of naira if well nurtured. This is as coconut has a production lifespan of 80 years and produces 200 coconut fruits yearly, with a value chain that transcends health and wealth benefits. Same gesture was replicated by officials of the Nigerian coconut producers, the Ministry of Trade and Agriculture. In Abuja, Benny Adams, NTA News.
Nigeria's grazing space and forest reserve are being transformed to put an end to incessant farmers-herders clashes. Also preserve and utilize the resources for improved security and social-economic stability of the rural population. The roadmap to achieve a robust platform for solution-driven project came to the fore on NTA's Current Affairs program, Tuesday Live. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports.
Nigeria's grazing system and forest potential are being revived and modernized in line with global best practices to address conflict between farming and herding communities. Stakeholders on NTA's Current Affairs program Tuesday Live acknowledged federal government initiative on National Livestock Transformation Program as spot on, citing the new synergies between government at all levels to implement critical components of the program.
We just have to adopt the zero grazing method, whereby you get the grazing reserve, get a small veterinary clinic in there, get a small market so that people outside can come and buy the milk and the beef, etc. Get a small school for the children of the herdsman, and then, of course, good roads.
I'm trying to build different models that will enable rapid transformation, that will lead to quick changes in attitudinal practices, that will quickly ramp up and develop capacities, and that will help us to secure a lot of investments.
Effective control and management of livestock and adequate awareness strategies are described as key drivers in actualizing reforms through the strengthening of institutional capacity to reduce growing tension created by frequent disputes.
I would rather suggest the government gets more focused, puts in more resources, and support these people as a business. Because the struggle we are in now is for us to provide means of livelihood to the people so that they can have a sustainable life.
Federal government decided to bring a blueprint. And within that blueprint, they are trying to get the buy-in of the various state government. And the expectation there is, just like Gombe is doing, is to look at what are those things that are provided that can easily be domesticated.
As the debate for sustainable part in achieving lasting solutions created by forests and grazing reserves continues, the expectations of Nigerians is to have more interventions that will reduce conflict and protect lives and property. In Abuja, Abubakar Usman Akwanga, NTA News.
The National Park Service is strengthening interagency collaboration to end unlawful practice of wildlife trafficking. Abubakar Usman Akwanga reports that the commitment came at the official handover of a confiscated parrot to the park authority.
This parrot may have just been a victim of wildlife trafficking, but the intervention of the National Quarantine Service rescued it from the unlawful practice. This was as a result of effective collaboration with other stakeholders to protect many more from wildlife trade and to preserve them for nature and as tourism potential.
This animal doesn't have sighted permit, so it was detained and sent to Abuja headquarters for my attention. So the DG now asked us to direct the animal to the wildlife park for safekeeping. And
for Ross and the conservation balance, the parrot is on the first schedule of the Endangered Species Act. Today we have received one from the Nigerian Agricultural and Quarantine Service. In the past we have two. Being an endangered species, we have every reason to ensure that it is protected, it is propagated, and with time, if the population so improves, we can release them back to the wild.
The commitment is in line with the UN Decade of Action from 2021 to 2030 on ecological restoration to prevent, halt, and reverse the degradation of the wildlife. In Abuja,
Reports just reaching us says Academic Staff Union of Polytechnic, ASUP, suspends its 65-day-old strike effective 10th of June 2021. Let's now join Kemi in Ibadan for more reports on Nationwide. Over to you, Kemi.
Thank you, Lydia, and welcome to Ibadan. True federalism has been identified as a step needed to overcome various challenges bedeviling the country. This was the topical issue at the maiden edition of Governor Seyi Makinde National Democracy Summit held in Ibadan. Kaudiola Doshu has the details.
Government functionaries, legal luminaries, economists, among other key players gathered to debate on issues in sustaining the thriving democratic governance in the country, with the theme, The Future of Democracy in Nigeria. The avenue provides a clarion call for devolution of power, whereby the state governments will control their resources, as these will bring about the desired development wishes for the nation.
As we continue to deliberate on the future of democracy in Nigeria, let us remember that true federalism is the way forward. Restructuring the Nigerian state and giving the federating units more power is the route to economic prosperity.
Attesting to the fact that the current situation in the country can be tackled with the principle of true federalism, it was noted that the future of civil rule in Nigeria lies on ethics of democratic system of government.
Not until there is total submission to the rule of law, the principles of separation of power are strictly adhered to. Only then will there be effective checks and balances amongst the three arms of government.
The summit is an opportunity and a platform to present effective means for the transformation of Nigeria through dialogue. In Ibadan, Kaudiola Doshu, NTA News.
The second jab of COVID-19 vaccination is underway in Osun State. It is, however, observed that the turnout is low this time around. The Commissioner of Health in the state, Dr. Rafiu Isamutu, however, appealed to residents to take advantage of the 40 days earmarked for the exercise. Femi Afariogun completes the report.
The vaccine recommended by World Health Organization is in 2 doses, and presently the second jab is available for those that took the initial one.
I know it's necessary to take it, not because of not purposely be able to travel to respect. Look, I'm a health worker.
At Isale Agbera Primary Health Center and Osun State University Teaching Hospital, Osogbo, the turnout was low as few people came to receive their second jab.
So we hope we'll be able to cover those that had the first dose, because as a rule of thumb, if you get the first dose, you must get the second dose.
Dr. Rafiu Isamatu, who appealed to people to come out and take the second jab, talked on the benefit of being vaccinated.
We said that if you have had the vaccine, that does not mean that you can't contract COVID-19 again. You can still contract COVID-19, but just that if you have had the vaccine and you have COVID-19, the tendency that you will land in the hospital is nil. The likelihood that one will die from COVID-19 is not there.
He assured people yet to be vaccinated that effort is ongoing by the federal government to get more vaccines, as all Nigerians will be vaccinated in due time. In Osogbo, Femi Afariogun, NTA News.
And that's it from Ibadan. Nationwide continues in Sokoto with Asmau after the break.
This is Deep Blue, the integrated national maritime surveillance and security infrastructure. Our platforms are ready. Special mission aircraft, special mission helicopters, unmanned aerial vehicle, special mission vessels, interceptor boats, armored vehicles, special forces and the C4I Center. Official flag off on Thursday, 10th June 2021 by President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Chief Host, Right Honorable Rotimi Amici, Minister of Transportation. The masses Deep Blue, Cabo Coast and safer seas. Security is priority. The integrated national maritime surveillance and security infrastructure. Powered by NAMASA.
Revision classes on television for students in secondary schools in English and mathematics will commence on the NTA. The revision classes will transmit Mondays to Fridays from 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the network service of the NTA. This is organized in preparation for the various national examinations and orders. This is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Education.
The much anticipated UEFA Euro 2021 is finally here. Can Portugal defend the title they won 4 years ago as they face world champions France, Europe giants Germany, Spain, Italy and England? Catch all the action via live transmission, in-depth studio analysis, fixtures, results, updates, and lots more on NTA, Africa's largest TV network. For sponsorship and advert placement, contact Bola on 08037044286 or Idris on 08034633644. This broadcast is proudly brought to you by NTA in partnership with Media Business Solutions, MBS Sports.
Good evening and welcome to Sokoto on Nationwide. Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar has kicked against the move to scrap the National Youth Service Corps, saying it is a means of bringing a long-lasting unity and understanding among Nigerian youths. Sheikh Muhammad Deti reports that the Sultan was speaking while addressing youth corps members he hosted for lunch at his palace. The report.
Though a normal tradition for the Sultan to host corps members posted to Sokoto for a lunch, and this is the first time the corps members are enjoying the gesture since the emergence of COVID-19 in Nigeria. The monarch charged the corps members to respect the culture, norms and values of their host community for a successful service here. He affirmed that the nation is facing security challenges, but reminded them that it is a global trend that needs holistic approach by concerned authorities. Sultan Muhammad Saad Abubakar said, despite the security challenges, Sokoto is still relatively peaceful compared to other places in Nigeria. He urged the core members to always be security conscious and report any unforeseen circumstances to the appropriate authority. The Sultan called on them to feel at home, as Sokoto is a home of hospitality.
Wherever you find yourself posted to, the district head there is your father, because he takes care of your problems and ensures you are at peace with everybody, to live peacefully and discharge your responsibilities peacefully.
The ZNYC director, Mr. Phillips, informed the Sultan that the 74 core members were selected based on the states of the Federation, including the Federal Capital Territory. He said 1,414 core members were posted to Sokoto State, with 714 males and 700 females. Mr. Phillips confirmed to the Sultan that they have shown sense of maturity and discipline while at the camp. He appreciated the Sultan for the care and love shown to the NYSC in the state. The visit featured questions and answer session. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Detti, NTA News.
Wife of the Sokoto State Governor, Maria Aminu Waziri Tambol, has expressed commitment to assist the 12-year-old girl, Joy, who was caged and starved for 8 months in Sokoto North Local Government. Shehu Muhammad Detti reports that the governor's wife gave the commitment when she paid a sympathy visit to the minor.
Joy, a 12-year-old girl, was rescued by the Sokoto State Police Command on the 13th of May 2021. She was said to have been caged and starved for 8 months by her guardians, Mr. Emmanuel Bassi and Esther Emmanuel. The girl, who is still on hospital bed, narrated her ordeal to the wife of Sokoto State Governor, Maria Aminu Waziri Tambol, who visited her. The governor's wife expressed shock over the condition of the girl and pledged to do everything possible to assist her and ensure that the perpetrators of the evil done to her are brought to book.
It is the committee now that will give a standing recommendation to Her Excellency, and I'm sure part of it is will be how she is going to fare well in terms of her education, in terms of her well-being, and what have you.
The mandate of my ministry is to ensure that this girl is protected and to follow up with the police and any relevant agency.
The governor's wife presented gifts to the girl. The governor's wife also sympathized with the housewife Asmao Aminu, who was said to have escaped death in the hands of her husband, Murtala Palki, who allegedly tried to use a car to crush her. In Sokoto, Shehu Muhammad Detti, NTA News.
And that's it from here. It's back to Lydia in Abuja.
Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has approved dissolution of the state's Executive Council and other political appointees with immediate effect. Contained in a statement signed by his Special Advisor, Media and Publicity, Mukhtar Gidado, the dissolution includes the Secretary to the State Government, the Chief of Staff, Government House, and all special advisors except special advisors on security, National and State Assemblies liaison, social investment, and that of media and publicity. While thanking them for their meritorious services to the state, Governor Bala Mohammed wished them the very best in their future endeavors. A manual on eliminating sexual and gender-based violence and harmful practices has been launched in Abuja by the United Nations Education, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO. Kenneth Nanim reports that the manual is designed as a reference material and guide in the fight against all forms of violation and human rights abuses, with focus on higher institutions.
Sexual and gender-based violence is a global phenomenon. In Nigeria, however, advocacy and public enlightenment campaigns have also been stepped up in this regard, but the messages seem to be falling on deaf ears as perpetrators continue with such inhuman act unabated. Now, UNESCO, through its Spotlight Initiative program, has come up with a manual that mainstreams thoughts, actions, and other concerns raised on the need to eliminate sexual and gender-based violence and chart a roadmap for quick access, comprehension, and implementation of action plans. For the International Society of Media and Public Health, the Nigerian universities and its commission, as well as other collaborators, the manual is a build-up on initiatives already in place in the campaign against sexual and gender-based violence, especially in higher institutions.
What the manual has done is to break down all that is needed. And if you look through the manual, you will see that it has been sections understanding gender-based violence and its implications for women's participation in leadership. We found out that during the research to put this together, even those victims are afraid to come out. We hope that this will help them, build confidence for them to be able to speak out.
The university is supposed to make strong bylaws. It should inculcate strong bylaws on this very sexual and gender-based violence, so that it will be clearly stated about the repercussions.
The manual is also emphasizing the need to eliminate some harmful cultural practices, such as female genital mutilation. Social support for victims and adequate punishment for offenders are other areas requiring attention. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
Civil societies are building capacity of youths to leverage on digital technology for job creation and self-reliance. Joshua Jito reports that the project, which is being facilitated by ActionAid Nigeria, seeks to support and empower young people to access information, analyze data, present evidence, and lead their communities in taking action through the use of digital engagement tools. Gombe and Akwa Ibom states, as well as the FCT, are piloting the project with youth selected, trained, and deployed to their communities for advocacy on how they can leverage on opportunities in the digital world.
And wherever we go to build the skills of the young people, we try as much as we can to let them to source local experts who can deal with those areas to further improve them. And so some of them that we have trained have become trainers from different, we are leveraging on different projects.
The world was hit, and then we had to move into the direction of the new normal. And one of the new normals is going digital. So I'm grateful that a project like this came to actually give youth the opportunity and the platform.
A lot of people learn skills from graphic design to dissemination of information, using of social media services and video editing, which all of them was digital. We are using digital means to do them.
When it comes to the plight of women in Africa, what readily comes to mind? The issues of poverty and low representation in the political arena. These form the focus of a regional African conference organized by the National Council for Women's Societies in Abuja. Momso Damien Dati has details.
Great Nigerian women! Great Nigerian women!
The year 2021 will remain memorable in the annals of history, with Nigerian women being appointed into offices as heads of decision-making bodies at national and international levels. Despite the significant success stories, the 35% affirmative action is yet to be attained. It is for this reason that this event, African Regional Council of Women Conference, was put together by the NCWS. Here, all issues confronting women in business, finance and governance, as well as their plight in the rural areas, take center stage.
Women here now are being taught, how to become a successful politicians. That is how to guide our women on the participation of politics. We are talking about trade, how they can be self-reliant. So as the leaders, that is why we are organizing this kind of workshop to guide our women.
The event is also an avenue for women across the country to share ideas and form networks across board. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
And that concludes Nationwide. We thank you for being a part of it. Don't forget the onslaught against rape and rapists is still on with the NTA. I'm Lydia Odijochi. Do have a wonderful evening.